So a lot of people have been asking about the perfect dark marionettes for Maw of Mischief, and I wanted to try them out. I wanted to test them out because they do seem like the perfect sort of specter meant for this type of build archetype where you just blow the minions up. What's cool about these specters is that they have they reform after being killed, which is unlike a lot of the other specters, and they do so at a 1 second cooldown rate, right? So they pop up right after 1 second as opposed to the 4 second cooldown that's on golems. So it really kind of lends itself well to this type of playstyle. We can also see that they explode on death for like different type of elemental damage, and they also scorch, which I haven't seen. So we can see that when we do a little bit of the gameplay footage. But yeah, I wanted to try these out, the perfect dark marionettes. I do want to say that I just swapped it in for my stone golem, so I don't have any. My gear is really kind of geared all towards increasing the levels of the stone golem and not increasing levels to my specters, right? So this is just specters at a level 78, which we can kind of look at the numbers on that later. And you know, obviously, like none of this stuff other than like the increases in minions' life is going to affect it. We also have 3 of them out. You can get 4. You can take this wheel and get another specter. So it just makes it really nice where you can just constantly boom, 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 boom. You just can't do this with golems, right? It's just not possible with your golems. A lot of the time, you're just going to be using your Herald of Purities if you're kind of rapid firing like that. And it just kind of makes for a nicer, smoother play style. Maybe there's even a way to kind of automate this with a Heartbound loop. Something like that could be interesting there. But let's hop over into a map. I can kind of just show you what they look like. It's a pretty juicy Jungle Valley map. So you can see with almost no investment into it, kind of the levels of damage and clear and, you know, all that stuff that we're looking at here. Now, the question is like, is it comparable to stone golems? I think on a damage level, I think it is. I think damage-wise, especially quality of life-wise, it certainly is. Like you can certainly get your damage really high, do a lot of damage with these specters, and you know, have a nice increase in quality of life. The problem that I'm kind of running into is defense, and you'll see what I mean when we get into the POB. Let's just pop one of these bad boys, huh? Make sure we don't hit that ignite one though. Hopefully there's no fire ones. Everyone's favorite thing to do with Maw of Mischief. Expedition. Any sort of like ignite prolif build, huh? Very fun. Alright. Is there any legions around we can pop? You can see like having that nice sort of rapid fire trigger is pretty nice. And again, I think there might be some sort of Heartbound loop play that you can do, or ward loop play that you can kind of get into where you can just automate this process. And I think that would make for a pretty interesting build if you can just automate that, have like a walking minion death simulator. I'm sure there's other builds like that. It can't be the first thing. It can't be the first time someone's done that. Let's just kill this boss and we'll hop into the POB. Yeah, you just can't do this with the golems, which makes it nice. And you're not really sacrificing much damage. Or any damage, really. So that's, again, with no investment into the build whatsoever, other than, you know, some of this stuff and increases in minion life. None of the, you know, this +2 doesn't really matter because, you know, this is good for the build, but that plus to physical is, you know, that's for stone golems. Same with the neck. So we're missing a lot of increases in damage there. You know, I still have a lot of this golem stuff on the tree here. Normally what you probably would do is just drop this, take this wheel here, maybe just path up here, take this wheel. You would drop this, you take this wheel, and you'd pretty much be off to the races. Oh, you would also take this, right? You would drop this golem node and take this here. And this is a very acceptable build. I would be happy with this build for sure. This build will be able to, once you have investment into it, I promise you'll be able to get any boss down, any Uber down is no problem. You know, you're just going to be a little bit squishy. You're going to be using a few portals there. So I do want to give a heads up to, I found it from this creator here, Prototype B, and sort of like how he built this idea out. I think I saw this on Reddit, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. So what he's utilizing here is an Uber Maven, by the way. What he utilizes, which is I think is really smart, is the new chest that you can get, which is the Pragmatist chest. So we head over to the POB. The Pragmatism chest gives you plus 12 level of socketed skill gems, minus 2 per socketed skill gem. And we have 2 socketed skill gems. All we need is our Raised Spectre and our Minion Life in there, right? So I think that's what, like a plus 8 there, a plus 8 to your Raised Spectre gem. And then, of course, you're going to want the Replica Dragon's Fang, plus 3 to Raised Spectres there. You're going to want to use a Bitterbind point, which is going to give you 96%, I think up to 99% increased maximum life. And then, reconfigure your tree to just give you as much minion life as you possibly can. And with this level of Raised Spectre, we're looking at 331,000 total life. Considerably higher than the Stone Golems, right? This is a lot higher. This is really good damage on Raised Spectre here. This is with a plus 2 scepter, by the way, or a wand. You can use a Scourge, you can use whatever, but if you wanted to go like full investment into it, this is what you would get. You would get a very, very, this is really nice. An 18 million Ignite, and on an Uber Boss, that's a 5 million Ignite. Not bad, right? That's not terrible at all. Not to mention, because you have such a higher hit rate, your EO is going to be up a lot more, and it's going to be nice. You're going to be killing it. You can use the Risen Vol Fanatic as the Spectre here, because they're not in the pool yet, but this is the same exact life scaling here. It's 288% increased life scaling. And this is like I said, I really just swapped a couple things over just so it fits Spectres, and we can see like it's not bad. The problem is that you're losing a couple things. So you're losing a good chest slot. This doesn't really give you much. It just gives you a good amount of armor, and it allows you to utilize the 15% increased life mastery. But you're losing any sort of like physical damage mitigation. You're losing so much spell suppression just from using this chest. You're using any sort of malevolence scaling. You're also just losing malevolence. You just can't run malevolence. You just don't have the sockets. Unless you really wanted to forego any sort of defense, which I do not recommend in this league, you would just lose malevolence, right? So that's kind of where things start to. This is where like the amount of DPS that you get out of it at the compromise of where you're at is really just an increase in quality of life. So if that's worth it to you, which is completely valid, if that is something that's worth it to you, then I think it's worth it, right? Quality of life is a huge aspect of a lot of builds, because with the golems, I personally don't mind golems, but they are just clunkier. They're just clunkier. There's just no way around it. Having a 4-second cooldown, once you charge up all of your minions and you blow them up, you're going to have to wait a few seconds and run around. So you kind of have to get used to that play style where you're not charging fully, but you're charging just enough so you can get like a good blast on the enemy. You don't have to worry about that with these. There's 1 second cooldown on them. They just pop right back up. The other reason that I think losing that amount of spell suppression, you can maybe get some of it back onto, maybe get some of it back here. If you like full investment into spell suppression here, maybe you can make that up and you can get around like 100% spell suppression. It's just going to be a lot tougher. You might have to think about dropping Spiritual Aid, dropping this, going with a Scourge, and then anointing Inveterate or something. That might be able to get you that defense back. But this is a league where defense is pretty valued. You just need a really good build in this league, so it's something to think about. It's just like a different build that you're gonna have to kind of consider. But definitely testing it out. I think it's worth it. Like I think it's a pretty good option here. It's just really nice to just have like that rapid fire here. You really aren't losing that much DPS if you are, and you're trying to balance DPS and defense. It's just you're just gonna have a different way of building it. So I think a couple of things that could be cool from it is utilizing both golems and specters instead of the Herald of Purity, which is what I was using prior to this. Having some sort of dual, because like if you spec in if you spec into, just say you, right here in your ad, Raid Spectre, just say you just sock it in Stone Golem, you lose +2 levels to that, right? So now we're at 294,000. That's not, that's still really high. That's still really high of a DPS value. And you just added 5 specters or 5 minions to your pool that are high HP and can scale with all of the other increases in minion life. So instead of having the Herald of Purities, which are much lower in HP value, this is like a way better clearing setup. So for mapping, this is just way better. And then when you're ready for bossing, you just drop this, and then boom, you're off to the races. You just, you know, kill all your bosses in that way. So like, I think it's a good option. There's definitely a good way to play. It's a good build that I think can be utilized, and people can kind of, you know, figure out some cool uses for it. I think there's something with the automation that can be done with a Heartbound loop, doing maybe some sort of ward looping with it. That could be really interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on the Perfect Dark Marionettes. They're pretty cool. I think this is one of the best leagues that we've had in some time. I cannot wait to just make so many different builds. One reason I'm not doing a full spec into Raise Spectre, the Raise Spectre version, is just I'm kind of over the build. I just don't feel like the sacrifice is worth it right now. I kind of want to start thinking about some different builds. I think this is going to be a really fun league to make like really strong characters, just gear them the fuck up, take on some of those Valdo boxes, win a couple Mage Bloods. It's going to be really, really fun. So yeah, just wanted to give you a heads up on the imperfect dark, or no, I'm sorry, not imperfect, the Perfect Dark Marionettes. All right, cool. Peace.